Welcome, y'all. And since we're sitting here looking at United States, North America region, happy Thanksgiving, since it is. Not that people are watching me presently, really, but that's okay, because I'm thankful anyway for everything. Doesn't really matter whether people are listening to a word I say. Okay, with that aside, let's get going. So I've been talking about. Maybe I can set this up a little bit because it's so critical that I would really like to give like a little bit of a just information. Mind you, this is going to be episode 85 of this series of videos. So, hopefully, people watching episode 85 have seen enough of these to be at least aware of the general things I'm talking about. Okay, so generally, I've been talking about how a vortex storm, oh my god, was used on ancient Dwarka, which was here, and it punctured the mantle hole here, and mantle then began to upwell from here in all directions, but especially over in this direction, and in this direction opposite, and all sorts of things. But generally speaking, I guess I'm just gonna move on and say if you want more information to set this up, I would recommend. I mean, really, anything here, on and onward. Really, the topics I'm about to talk about. The closer to present, the more I'm aware of the things back here. So some context that's more about my life and then building into what's going on here. So this is just that, some context also in terms of the underground science. Anyway, so with that said, generally speaking, though, I've been talking about how there is recently a current coming this way. And I've noticed at times how, there's an eyeball here, maybe. If there's a current coming this way that kind of has this, then it kind of looks like a snake. So we run into this snake feature here and there along the way that I point out just as I go. But I'm kind of I don't really want to talk about it too much because it's this snake feature, and people are like, what are you doing? Talk about this snake feature, Mr. Person that we don't know and therefore are afraid of because of all the reasons that we've determined already to be afraid of anyone, especially anyone of that magnitude. Talking about snakes too? Talking about snakes too? Okay. We're done here. So I don't want to because of that, literally because of that. But I'm gonna because of what I'm about to show. Okay, with that in mind, there's a current generally here feeding into this region, which I've kind of talked about. Okay, now we got some exciting realizations. I started looking at this type of map. Initially, I noticed up here. I was looking at here, and I was like, that kind of looks like a pentagon-ish. Speaking of things people don't like. Pentagon-y thing, maybe hexagon-y, but not quite. Many-sided, but generally speaking, a polygonal shape that's a little more polygonal than I had previously realized it to be without the color. If I look here, so that's what's good about this map. If I come over to Google Earth and kind of look here, I don't really see that structure. Now that I see it, I can be like, oh yeah, here, probably, here, up here, over this way, maybe through here, maybe up this way, generally over to here, and then down this way, and then across here-ish. I think that was it. So, I can kind of find it now, that it's distinctly mapped here. This like portion. But essentially, so I started thinking about like interesting. Recently, I've been talking about how there's a current generally going up into here, with a counter current coming down here, and they're producing this region, which I mentioned in the past. This region is very similar to this region, and almost like it like mimics it, but in a different like version of it. Like it was forming here, like a smaller one here, though not like identical. Okay, so with those things in mind, general things, started noticing, well, you know what? This isn't just like a pentagon-y thing. Like it has this thing here that out of it, it kind of looks like an eyeball to a mouth of like one of those snake type things that I've been pointing out. Here's another one. So this is when I started to be like, huh. Because it's a snake feeding into another snake adjacent to another snake over here, like from here to here, with the mouth up here and then over here, and even like different ones, like here with the boundary low to here. So a smaller snake with a larger snake. But in this instance, the smaller snake is like over here. And then the larger snake is physically like the same, but just extended over this way. Like generally speaking, this way. Like if we position like eyeballs, it's generally along a path. Maybe it's here. I'm not. I was kind of pointing it towards here, thinking in my head that I had deciphered it was towards here, but maybe not. Pardon me. This also looks shallogram like right there. I just realized. Noted. But so this generally comes down here, and interestingly, right at the mouth of this snake is this Missouri River. Interesting. Okay. So then I'm like, interesting. Interesting. Then I start Googling. I'm just like, North American geological maps. I start looking around. This is a very similar map, so we see similarly. So it's not the same, like the coloration's not the same. So it's not quite as distinct that there is this like upper pentagon thing with a snake here. Like this snake head here is not as distinct, whereas this one's a little more like still distinct right here to the very tip here. And now notice, I mentioned it was flowing this way. This one over here is flowing this way. So like this larger snake has a snake head coming out of it. That out of that snake head is in like the mouth of the snake head is like a seed, a nucleus of the next system here that then has like the fingers around it. Okay. Let's keep looking. Okay, that's two United States. Here's another one. Very distinctly can see. It's still not the whole North America. I'm trying to find certain ones that I found along the way that were like, because I was looking on my tablets. Here we can kind of see pretty well again, but it's again just United States. when we cut the map into parts, it becomes less like distinguishable, the larger scale like things going on, so it becomes disconnected. Okay, because I'm trying to find one that labels the map, specifically labels the map in a certain way to basically point out a critical element here, that this region is a basin. Basin mountain chain, okay? Basin mountain chain. Snake that whose head comes sideways, enlarging sideways. Mountain chain. Snake whose head comes out of the snake's mouth and gives basically large going to small, maybe, and small going to large. I'm not sure if that made sense. Like in terms of their growth. Like this one flows along here, and then as the as the volume and flow rate increases, it begins to flow outward and bow into like a larger region, and then it basically begins to just produce novas that are like in a line, like right here probably, as this like snake head widens and like opens its mouth over here. Basically it forms an offshoot current that becomes like a mouth that then wraps around some nucleus type thing, just like a hand, which is why it frequently forms a hand shape, like this portion here, like the whoa, what is going on there? Is there a nebula there? I've never seen that. What is that? I've never seen this one. It's this one that I feel most represents what I am going to talk about at certain times later, but this one's real interesting and maybe represents like an opposite where where this region here is very low mass, whereas here it's like filled with some high density system. There's even like particle type things going on back here. What? Is this real? High energy X-ray. Whoa. This is the same image in different wavelengths? Or is it different? I don't want to get caught up on this new image. But in essence, to me at least, pardon me, in essence it does that. And also it, like as it goes across, once it can no longer like continue to create this like snake thing, and then like does that feature that I've been kind of, so it kind of comes across here, I guess, or here. We can even see like, now that I see this chain, we can see this mouth here with this widening and narrowing here. It maybe feeds generally over into here, but like this one back to here even, so it follows like a chain of mouths, and maybe even like a smaller one somewhere over here. It'd be crazy if I just arrive at the Scablands. I don't know if that will find it. There it is. Ish. There it is. There it is. Here's an eyeball. Eyeball. Bottom bottom jaw, upper jaw. I'm like, what is the word? It's not. It's this one is literally eating the entirety of this yin yang, where this yin yang is like the yin to the yang, or vice versa, of this one, which is then this whole region. Again, maybe mimicking that like tendency for this snake to have within its mouth. So some like different size thing, and maybe the hand is strongly like there's a current going straight, and then it starts to like bow out. And that when it really starts to bow out rapidly, like initially it starts to form snake heads, but then it really rapidly bows out into a hand feature, but then that is itself still within the snake heads of it all. I'm not finding quite the pictures that I had earlier, though. Just using a different device. I think Bing, I think my tablet uses Bing North America Geological Map. Images. Here we go. Here we go. Great Plain. This immediately made me think, oh, that's why tornadoes are here. Like, there's probably a vortex of energy that swirls into Hudson Bay, like generally up this way. Because this looks even like an ammonite here, where Hudson Bay is like the nucleus, really truly of the ammonite, where it's like the most material removed. Yeah, again though, we can see like this one really shows the snake outlined here. Another snakish thing here, like, which is interesting. Within this one, it looks like there's another one that's like here. That's not really like all of this region as well. Like it's many overlapping snakes, which is probably a good thing. Here's a good picture where we see the topography of this snake is very high, and then this one is very low. And then the tongue of the Mississippi, in this instance, has a tongue that's also kind of like a spine, but also in this, like where it's outside of where the spine continues, it behaves like a snake tongue protruding outward that then, I believe, like two, like protrudes into like a snake tongue having two like sides to it. Okay, what else? I wrote down a lot of stuff because I just had a chain of thoughts going on. So that basically made me think, well, this is kind of behaves like a positive and a negative, like snake-wise. So there are two types of snakes. There is the positive snake, which is uplifted here, at least on our side of the reality. Like the undersurface would probably have a depression, whereas over here the undersurface would have an uplifting. So this also has the characteristic where this negative on the opposing side has a positive, much like here, where like maybe even like looking at the if we wanted to see the undercrust of regions like this, we just look at like regions like this, and it's really like equivalent maybe, but opposite. And then they form adjacent though, so there's a positive with like a separator region of this like intermediary basin, the plains, like really like at the center really. that behaves as a separator, especially the planes behaves as a separator for the ones over here, but as it starts to break into the planes, it more like breaks through the separator, and maybe that's a big part of the process because I noticed this kind of is reminiscent of the Mariana Trench, and this is kind of reminiscent of the Hawaiian Island like arc. If we come over here, maybe I'm exaggerating that. Like, is it possible it formed like initially the energy started over it like colliding? Like, my thought is one beam coming out from the mantle puncture hole here. One like current flows out this way, one flows out this way. But this current becomes like, it spreads and becomes wider, whereas this current generally stays focused. It's kind of like this over here. This is a volcano that pretty much formed a backstop of like a mast, and so that it could then like protrude a current like directly towards, like, as a beam. So it basically focused a current and created a backstop to push the current against the focus current. As the focus current occurs, it has like a backstop form on the opposing side, pretty much, where mass accumulates kind of like here. And this is pretty much like Earth. Like, here is the opening in the Pacific, and here is like the generally where the continental blocks are like generally accumulated on the opposing side, like over here, generally together, generally opposing. So like the eye here this is like eyeball of this snake. So there's a snake here with an eyeball here, and then it has a tongue lashing through here, maybe even lashing through here. And maybe also a second, I don't know. I was gonna say maybe it had like another, but I don't know if it does. It kind of has just a tongue here, but like its whole head is like up to here, and then it bends over and has like a chin or like a nose region, and then like more of an upward portion as it approaches the eyeball, and then wraps around. And then this current generally comes in here from over here, generally from this way. So it has a body that wraps back from over here, back here, back through here, actually, through Greenland, through here, maybe this is the focus beam. No. It's kind of tricky to determine which way the focus beam would come out of things here. Okay. Because it's kind of like different. It's certainly not as focused as I just described. It was like, bing, one side, and then it just like fans out the other. But it kind of generally, I believe, fans out and produces a backstop so that this current can flow in the other direction. Which then goes up here, around the pole, through here, down through here, which then connects from here down to here and fans out here. So there's certainly a narrowing current, generally speaking, going across a fanning out current, generally speaking, where their collision then starts to produce eddies and changes in the topography and so on. Okay, before I move on to something even cooler than these general things going on here. Also, here's the Mississippi, but also here's this like wider segment of like, and we see like here's the snake's like upper portion and its eyeball. This is another snake's eyeball like here. And also the whole of it, this here. For like a larger, this one that's way up here. Like there's a small one with this one that's generally like here, maybe wrapping around this. Okay, so that brings to mind this one, the depressed, the depressed terrain, the basin relatively type terrain compared to the uplifted terrain of mountains. This region has like the snake is eating a like negative depression, and then again it's where its like tongue is coming out, which maybe is like here and here at this point, kind of where it's like across here. It's kind of got like a tongue lashing out here. Is again a depression. It's lower. And then again down here, where the tongue comes out, is a river that also had a significantly larger size at one point. Like it drained through here. Drained. So it's probably, this is more like surface currents. I don't know if that makes sense. Physical water currents that are just carving downward and causing depressions in the terrain. But my thoughts was it's all beneath the surface, like down at the underlayer. So if it's doing that, it's just because the water is reaching that deep from the surface. But I was thinking just underneath it's doing it. One or the other. It's kind of like making me think the water's doing it though, when the Mississippi River, smiley face, is like one of the part components of it, and like the tongue is again water, and then the tongue of like this even larger one seems to come down through here. And then I like come out this way through I don't know. I was thinking maybe there's a tongue coming out here that then wraps over this way. I don't know about that one. But there's also here, there's generally one like Florida. Oh, also this was another thing I noticed. We've got over here a row of eyeballs coming down this way. And then this, and then down here, it's kind of like a miniature one that's just staggered. I think I posted this on Twitter. What? But initially, this is before I guess not. False alarm, I didn't post anything about it. Okay, but on the mountainous side, like one of the instances, there essentially the mountainous side is uplifted, and anywhere the snake is uplifted, and anywhere there's like some region that behaves like this region in the like uplifted region detectable. Also notice where the current's flowing is at like the tips here especially. It's essentially the current can't come out the sides as easily, although it does. And so it pushes through to the point of like the very end. And then at that point just is experiencing the most pressure. And so there's just a higher flow rate through the points, which then causes the points to be able to carve through things like this. This energy propagating this way kind of just moves through and keeps doing it until it meets enough resistance. But like Florida, interestingly, its eyeball equivalent here is a depression. It's a lake, it's a body of water, so like water flowed here probably, and underneath here currents flowed, and like the combination of the two behave like the same thing on different levels. Maybe maybe it's like water flowing hot steam like beneath the surface, and like liquid like cold here, hot here, cold here, hot here moving rock, like liquefying it, causing it to flow. Cold here solidifying rock, causing it to become smaller particles, causing it to flow. So in both the instances, causing it to flow, just in this instance, causing like it to flow as a bulk fluid, and in this instance, for it to flow more as like a particulate. And in that case, it causes uplifting. In this case, it causes down bowing or whatever. Okay, now Google Earth. We have to use Google Earth for this because I have to be able to turn the Earth. I was looking at Google Earth earlier because that's what I should do during Thanksgiving. And I noticed here, if we start from Spain, or I'm sorry if that's not actually Spain right there. If we start from here, it might be Portugal. Let's go here. Okay, at least I corrected myself before checking and then confirmed. Okay, if we start from Portugal, interestingly, just go up this way. It's got a square here, which is cool. Also, it's got like an iguana, which is cool. Like, I don't know. Like kind of iguana, like doesn't matter. It's not technical, but in some way it's noticeable enough for me just to point out in case we see iguanas again. Maybe they indicate certain things like, oh, or whatever. This maybe this isn't an iguana. Maybe it's more like a tortoise, which we did see already in Kutch in India. Okay. So generally, it begins to widen low, and I notice it generally has like a flow this way, and generally a flow this way, like at this width, or maybe even actually at this width, or this flow here. This flow here, I notice like really goes through a lot of these things, and then right to the Himalayas. Okay, so to the from the Himalayas back through here, through here, through here, basically to this point, and then from this point up this way along the back here, skipping this thing a bit, kind of like back along this way, down through here, and kind of to basically about the same distance as the Himalayas, and just analyzing that region to start out. So we notice here is this like mountainous region, and then at that divide, generally speaking, there's like a noticeably like broken up region of a noticeably kind of similar shape to this region to almost like be like the other half of it. So there's almost like a positive uplifted region with a like central bar separator and then a downwelled negative region. And then the current continues through and creates this thing, which is interesting, right? But like maybe it continues through, but we've already talked about this a little bit. It also is like here. So like on top of that kind of is this other one. So it's almost like here's the separator here, and then down here is again the negative one, and then over here essentially some portion here, maybe not like all the way out to here, but like essentially out to here energetically, but maybe not like as much here because like maybe okay, fair. If we go over here energetically to the here, maybe we see the full extent, but like maybe just to here is like this portion's equivalent, and then the Sahara kind of has a portion equivalent over here, noticeably with chakras along the way, chakra type things along the way. Okay, so now we've got on this side these like W type structures repeating, and then within them we notice some snake type features also like here. So it's a W type structure, but this W type structure has a snake type structure. So again we see positive separator negative, positive separator negative, probably positive separator-ish negative. It's just too like depressed to see the difference without like pulling up like I think this is Caspian, sorry. Let's see. Pretty much something that differentiates enough. Top lobe is much lower or higher, much closer to sea level, not as much of a hole. In the middle is a bigger hole, but it's not as much of a hole as at the end, which is the trend we have been seeing. Like here to here is definitely, this is the tallest, this is smaller, and this is even smaller. It's almost like things from here generally flow downhill into this region, where they then generally kind of compile in like a polygonal boundary where there's like a wall formed, but then like that still generally flows down into this region to energetically have like a positive to a negative current flow of like a battery opposite, but the same in some ways in like the counterflow of a battery. Okay, then let's just keep going. So we see this snake, of course, let's stop here because we see this snake as well, because there's the eyeball, there's the mouth, there's like a tongue feature, and then like, the entire spine, which kind of, our body, even looks like maybe it wraps around, perhaps. That would be crazy if like this is actually because it like wrapped around like that and did like a snake tail. And then maybe even goes in and comes out there kind of along the coastline. I don't know. But then this snake again has a depression and then not a depression. So like the uplifting one doesn't uplift here, but the downwelling one doesn't downwell here, and so they basically are mirrors, with probably like a general like divide in the here of just a lower elevation that's not like here, as low, as high as here, or as low as here, just like over here. But interestingly, notably, also, this here is kind of like an arm. Like if you're trying to stand, like to like lift, it's almost like a something trying to move this way needs to like put out spot eddies in this direction that then like curl around and push against things, and it physically like creates arm type structures on both sides, one here, one here. Here's like the snake with the equivalent again. And then, again, we just continue though. So this starts out at Portugal and just widens all the way across Asia, right? So, oh my god, this mouse, dude. And then we start to see like shallogram type features. So this is, I should probably pull up some shallogram real quick. Like this side. Good shallogram. Come on, buddy. I believe in you. Maybe like that. So it's creating like these structures. Also these, like one of them is larger than the other. So like this is the like larger opening than this one. So it kind of behaves like a positive negative as well. So generally speaking though, we're really mostly looking like here, but on the side. So if I just rotate this. This kind of thing going across here. And then we see a snake. Like here's that thing. Shallogram feature. Here. And oh my god, here's a snake. Holy shit. And here's at its like neck, along its neck, some kind of current feeding into the snake head, causing an undercurrent pushing up, or downwelling pushing down, causing this a snake head. So there's physically in a location like here, like a physical, when the water drains downward through like this shallogram type feature here, boundary, it generally flows down in this way through, like down, 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 and then meets like the base of the shallogram type thing, which is probably, this thing is maybe somewhere in this region has one, like a big one. Maybe up here there's a big one, like from here across somehow. That's maybe in another map. Okay, let's get back to here though. I will turn it randomly at the right angle. Here we go. There we go. There we go. Okay, we're back. So we got that shallogram thing going on with the snakehead thing going on. Mind you, this thing, there's a current generally going across this way. There must be a current going this way. There must have been water flowing on the surface, creating the depressions, which was when the flood occurred, and then currents flowing between the continents, creating like upliftings. And this is like a boundary between the like floods that were physically flowing in here, especially in the Tarim Basin, creating this eyeball, this distinct eyeball of this snake, which, mind you, has a tongue coming out, lashing, and then another snake with a little eyeball, a larger snake probably here, lashing like its tongue through here. So these like W things are also correlated with these like chains of snakes coming through here. Okay, then the shallogram runs to the literally to the edge, the like W thing. So if we come over here, this thing, let's find a better example then of one. Maybe we can find one that has more like that. View, extra large icons maybe. This one is kind of like going along and then it runs off the edge. So we need one that basically runs off the edge maybe in some way, maybe like this. Does this? I don't know. Like, is there a snakehead here? There's a positive snakehead here. Like a mountain. Like a... Well, let's just keep going because I got enough to talk about. I don't need to get paused up on stuff like checking it out. So generally speaking, there is this one that's here, but also there's one noticeably from North America across to basically like beat the some type of chakra point, like a connection point that's energetically like is generally here at this point. It energetically connects to like a far point out here from this angle specifically, energetically outward it connects there, again energetically outward, and even has maybe like a little bit of a chakra there, and then again it connects over here. So these are like bonding. This polygon is bonding to maybe this polygon, which is bonding to maybe this polygon. Energetically bonding through the opening, essentially by a current flowing through here that opens space between the bonded locations to really like distinguishably create the bonds. But if we just keep going, let me just go back through here. a little bit. Here's another snake. I wonder if this one's like a sand one. If the, like earth. This is an earth snake. This is a uh, water snake that's producing this. I guess this is still a water snake at that point. This is like a fire snake when it produces uplift. I don't know. That's kind of what I was thinking. Like earth, wind, fire, water. The elements. Like it probably can be reduced to that kind of thing if it's understood well enough and be useful. Here's another like snake head with an eyeball. I also noticed. Okay, let's keep going. Let's just. So we keep going across. Oh my god. And we have again like a negative shallogram to the positive. So over at the coast of Asia was basically a land, so positive, and over here we have a negative with kind of a point in like chakras, point in and then point in, and then noticeably this shallogram chakras has one inlet here and another inlet here. Mind you, this inlet continued over along here, through here, back this way, and through here, I believe. Although maybe through here, I'm not completely sure. It might have just came through here. And then at some point, like when the Earth was done expanding, came through here. So initially it was going through there, but then it still went through here. I'm not sure. To go through here, it would have to basically flow around, cross through the Gujarat, the puncture hole region, which I'm realizing now is also a little snake with an eyeball, where like the eyeball of this depressed region is actually here, where related to where the storm was in some way. Noticeably, it's got like a Gujarat from this region, almost as if the snake is like opening its mouth, and as it does, its fang is protruding here. It's almost got like an open mouth, fang protruding, and maybe an eyeball here, kind of thing. Or here still, whatever. And then again, we see it here with this one. So like, so while the storm was over here, that would mean the storm was here at one point, feeding current maybe this way, in part, because it's kind of also here. So maybe it had a two-tongue things going on. Okay, here's one. They're all over the place, and if we can just like understand why they form from currents and the precise things of it all, the potentials. And if I can scroll, oh my god, the potentials. Okay. Where did I just... Oh my god. Okay. Here we go. Here is this. Okay. There's that. So we're coming across this way, which then opens up completely. And then we just see the positive half and the negative half. So maybe we can, now that I kind of think of that, find shallograms that have... So here they're connected. Here's like a positive, and then like when it's disconnected, this segment just has like a negative. So let's find one. I mean, they're pretty much all, but I'd like a really good example. Like here's like mountains or land or whatever. Some kind of feature that's not as over here. And they disconnected, and that's because this mouth. So again, snake mouth, right? Mouth all the way, like literally head, eyeball, jaw, other jaw, tongue, with like maybe other tongue down this way. I don't know, or tongue, like from back here, like all even another one from back here. The jaw starts like back here, and the eyeball, or maybe that, I don't know, but maybe more just like here. And this is like a nostril end to this one, which then also has that. Greenland, I noticed it's kind of like here. It's almost like a positive to the negative. Worth noting. So back to here. So then we got the shallogram feature. So we see though, back to the hand of God, that it's got these protrusions through. Oops. So it went through here, which then continued through here. And this one I'm thinking was somewhat long, and then there was maybe one up here in this region that isn't even detectable, although maybe that one went through here, went like through here, through this way, and connected through here. Back here where it then met its other fingers, kind of like this. One along the way, and then one somewhere else. I don't know if I did that completely right, but you know what I'm saying. Meets the fingers, and then contained within the fingers. Here's a finger coming across, meeting a finger. Contained within that finger is North America. Contained within the fingers that is the hand is holding the mouth. Mouth hand. The hand of God is holding is basically a continent. And then again though, notice the snake, tongue. Probably one coming more from here to through here. But then we come across, so we were here though with the shallogram features. Now we're kind of, interestingly, we're kind of approaching where we started here, but we're approaching it at a different angle because the earth expanded. So even though we went like in that way, the earth expanded, so it like wrapped around so that we started coming back around from the initial location going this way. So again though, we see shallogram type features. And then they kind of aren't there in the negative, so like this is like a chakra in the negative. And then here, kind of interestingly, is like a chakra of Africa that's like at the point where the Sahara is, which I find interesting. Like it's energetically, the Sahara appears to have like a boundary relationship to like this chakra point in the actual like growing, because essentially like This is a W segment. Up here is a W segment of the like 3 prongs, but it's the highest one. Here's like an intermediary one. I wonder if like down here is the lowest elevation, like deepest depth of Atlantic Ocean map. Let's see if it does the same trend of like top high as closest to sea level down to an intermediary and then truly a little bit deeper. Depth. It really doesn't show the South Atlantic. Just like North America again. Oh, United States. That's what you meant, right? This looks like sorry you can't see that. Like the snakeheads. Which brings me back to, if they're like snakeheads, then this is kind of like an eyeball. So then we go across here and we see more chakras. And down here, though, the finger that went through here continued through. Oh my god, dog. Brutus. His name's Brutus. Brutus, please. Please, Brutus. So this finger continues through, where it then seemingly, like I was just talking about, it's like another finger. Like the portion that went this way branched off like a tongue, another portion, so it had like multiple fingers, which again, shallogram. This one, where are you? I'm used to seeing them in a different size, so I was looking on the left side. I might have passed it. Here we go. This one. It's just like fingers wrapping around. So pretty much like it can have more fingers and fingers shooting in different directions, where like down there also snake again. Oh my god, it's literally everywhere. And just because of current flows, and so revealing, dudes. And then it goes this way, it seems, and through here, and just connects. Maybe. That's my guess. Although maybe it actually comes through here, and they re-merge here, and continue again like this. Or like this, like it re-merges somewhere and then just continues. Obviously this is just curling in, but it's almost like the snake head here. The jaw broke free. Like this was the jaw, the lower jaw, and it just broke free. Just make sure I pretty much... Okay, so then let's keep going. Okay. So we got through here. We got a finger going this way, a finger going this way, up through here. I guess through here, so it's actually through there, maybe. Through this way, end through this way, coming through here to be here. And then it kind of, like the hand of God thing, kind of starts to form more like, I don't know why this image is not the whole freaking thing. Is it right here? Pretty much just, I mean, generally moving a bulk like this with protrusions in energetic shapes that are the same ways over and over. And then having some extending thing that where the shallogram ending it just kind of wraps into here. I don't, and the eyeball, the negative eyeball, of like this region here is here, and then it's eating this, the it's eating this out, this like thing here. So it's eyeball and its mouth around that thing. So it almost like creates the. And then I missed Antarctica, and I'm sure I like deviated at some point to make mistakes in understanding and all, but hopefully we can clear things up together if we ever work together. At you guys' leisure. I know I'm an asshole, so, you know, deserved, but, you know, it'd be nice. Wouldn't it be nice? So that's what I was thinking about, and I hope that was excitingly exciting, because I cannot, like, at no point when I started any of this would I think I'd be talking about these subjects. It's not like I, like, knew all along. And I'm just like, all right, now's the time to share it. I'm doing it. I like pre-plan this. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna present this topic at this moment. And I mean, I guess kind of this one, because I was taking notes and preparing for, like, whoa. But that was really just, I found some things today, and so therefore I started presenting them. And I noticed them because I was looking at this angle rather than the typical angle. Like, I never noticed that it just widens like that. And this just has one, like a miniature iguana, on the iguana's right in the back of the iguana. Here's the tortoise. Let's see if there's a tortoise. Like that. Like a tortoise right in the back of the tortoise. And then there's another snakehead, of course there is. Okay, guys. I'll see you soon.